What is happening out there, rotoscouts basketball fans? Welcome back to the show, gang. Took Thursday off. Happy Friday. Wasn't planning on taking Thursday off, just wasn't feeling good yesterday. Not like sick, just was feeling kind of out of it. Still feel that way. It was just like slow moving, like I don't know. Just not at 100% the last 36 hours or so for whatever reason. So, no shows yesterday, unfortunately. Might have been a good thing. Didn't have my best night of basketball by a long stretch last night. That was after 3 straight days with lineups in the top 20 on FanDuel. A little bit of a step back, a little bit of a disappointment on that one. Had a bunch of chasers in the ridiculous football game that we had last night. But that one obviously was just like a total crapshoot. But yeah, happy to be here. We're going to take a tour through tonight's 8-gamer for the NBA. Happy Neemias Queta Day. Neemias Queta. Don't really know exactly how to pronounce his name, but he is going to be a key part of all of our lives tonight. Trav, what's going on? Cujo Blues here. Yeah, I'm having it for as like slow moving and like low end as I'm feeling overall. Cujo, I'm having a great Friday. Can't complain. Slept in a little bit. Got the projections done. Started working on the projections for tomorrow for football. The full, the full 2 slates worth of football projections. They'll be up tonight. For football, Cubs was asking for tomorrow's slate. Definitely, I'll have projections will be up. I'll do a separate groups article for that one, and then I'll probably knock out an above below. There's 3 games? I think that's enough to do. Maybe grab a couple or like some kind of version of like a my favorite picks kind of a thing. So that'll go up tonight. It'll be in time for the morning at worst tomorrow for building lineups and everything for the Saturday slate. I don't know that we're gonna do a show for that 3-gamer. It depends really, how I'm doing in the morning, what time I'm up and everything, and or if I'm at the end of an all night stretch, who knows. But don't expect a show for the Saturday football games necessarily. But we'll do our usual routine for the main slate like late tomorrow sometime. We'll knock out a show for the Sunday main slate. We'll have all the usual football content for Sunday, projections for basketball over the weekend as usual, and so on and so forth. So with that in mind, we do have an interesting 8-gamer on deck tonight. Let me say hi to whoever else is. So Travis picked up another 10K in the finger wag the other night. Nice, dude. Congrats. It's awesome. Lost to FJ Bourne and took everything down that night. Yeah, I saw him that day. He was crushing it that day. He had J187 posted in the his analysis in the Discord. And FJ Bourne had 97% Timmy Hardaway, and that was the night that Timmy went off. I think it was also the night that I was like, hey, Timmy sucks, watch. Didn't look like he was going to get there. He flopped at the beginning of the game and was laying like dead on the court for a solid minute, but then got up and lit things up for a while. But yeah, I think that was the big differentiator that he had that night. Well, that's awesome, dude. Congrats on the 10K. Steven Leibowitz is here. Happy Friday, says Steven. 400 grand in NBA that night for FJ Bourne. That's not bad. I mentioned in the Discord, he's an old awesome stochastic guy, right? No, I don't think he worked there, but wasn't he like in the Slack back in the day? I know his name from other than just like seeing him in standings. Apologies if he's like here. I have no idea. I'm so bad at remembering like who's who and connecting screen names and stuff like that. And I just never, ever cared about the DFS drama or any of that shit. Oh, this guy said something mean to me. Oh, this guy said my projection was bad. Oh God. Oh, no. So dumb. Anyway, Anthony Taylor's here. What's going on, Ant? Good luck, everyone. Let's cash off the analysis today. I agree. Back at it today. So, like I said, happy Neemias Queta Day. A 7.17 points per dollar. For 3,500, he's the dead minimum on both sites. The reason we're Keita. Thanks, Tiz. Keita. I'll go with that. Probably makes a lot more sense than how I was saying it. So, Neemias Queta. I appreciate it. Just monster point per dollar option. Just kind of a plug and play value. I'm actually surprised that his win rate is as low on FanDuel as it is, 37.7. He's projected for basically like double that ownership. So that's kind of an interesting wrinkle. I've got him at, well, I actually gave him an additional minute since I updated this, I believe, on the minutes side there. I think I've got him at 25 minutes now. I just basically got him at a point per minute. He's been at 1.09 on the season. It's a very small sample of 10 minutes a game over 3 games. He was at a similar number in small samples last year. But more to the point, he's just going to be the starting big man. I mean, all signs point to that because basically everybody in the Boston front court is out. Or all the big men anyway. All the true bigs. So he's kind of the option tonight. At the dead minimum, just anybody with that kind of an opportunity at the dead minimum is going to crest into value. And he's shown quite a bit. So he's a really interesting one. We've got a monster game total to work with and a couple appealing spots. So let's start with real quick. As of the last time I updated, the most recent news I saw was Cam Reddish and D'Lo are also both now added to the injury report as questionable. So basically that entire team right now is on the injury report and potentially not going tonight. So we've got probables. Cody Zeller, he's available. Rui Hachimura is available. Jared Vanderbilt is probable. Grayson Allen's available. Nasir Little's available. Questionables. It's a longer list. Jordan Poole, Zion Williamson, PJ Washington, DeAndre Hunter, Anthony Davis, LeBron James, Torian Prince, Cam Reddish, D'Angelo Russell. Like I said, basically all the Lakers' important players. Markelle Fultz is landed questionable today after he's been out for a couple of weeks. Amen Thompson, Desmond Bane, Eric Gordon, Jaylen Brown. So Jaylen is questionable for the Celtics. And then they've also got Al Horford out, Luke Cornett out, and Kristaps Porzingis doubtful. And most likely not playing, not expected to play. So there is just plenty of opportunity for Keta there. And then in additional outs, Marvin Bagley, Jalen Duren, Andrew Nembhard, Jalen Smith, Johnny Davis, Landry Shamet, Dylan Wright, Larry Nance, Matt Ryan, LaMelo Ball, AJ Griffin, Wendell Carter Jr. Went through the Celtics. Jayshawn Tate also doubtful. Mitch Robinson out for the Knicks, and Josh Okogie out. In terms of our game environments, when last I updated the projections, so the monster that we've got lurking here, the Indy Washington game has a 261 point total in Vegas. That is gigantic. That is 26 points higher than the next highest total. Next highest is, there's a 241.5. So it's roughly 20 points higher than the next highest total. 241.5 in between Atlanta and Toronto. But Indy, Washington, 261. Indy's favored by 8.5. They should go out there and just light it up against Washington today. But neither one of these teams is going to be playing defense. There's the opportunity for a lot of scoring for a lot of cheap to mid-range players. So we'll see some of those guys, I'm sure, on this board as we start going through some of these plays. Pelly's and the Hornets, 232.5, 8.5 point spread in that one as well. Pelly's favored, 234.5 with a 16 point spread between Philly and Detroit. Should probably be higher. What is it, like 0-56 for Detroit, Washington, and whoever? Some ridiculous run for the three worst teams. Atlanta, Toronto, 241.5, 2 point spread. That one's interesting. Close spread, two pretty decent teams with a lot of, playable parts. So I don't dislike that one. 224.5, 4.5 point spread in the Orlando-Boston game. We've obviously got the Keta piece, and then we've got some odds and ends that we can probably get to. I would imagine some of the Orlando guys will come up a little bit. So we'll take a look through that. Probably some opportunity to see Jason Tatum land strong. He'll gain a little bit of ground if we end up taking Jalen out. Lakers and the Spurs, 235 point total, 7.5 point spread in favor of the Lakers. Obviously, everybody questionable in that game. Who the hell knows where things are going to land? What was it? Last AD went, LeBron didn't. So maybe they reverse it. Maybe they both play. Who knows? It's probably going to get messy one way or the other. Let's plan for some opportunities in the Lakers game to pop up. Rockets and Memphis, 212. That one's pretty unappealing. 3.5 point spread. there are good pieces on both those teams. There are good pieces that come up quite a bit for DFS purposes. But a 212 total is pretty different than every other game on the board. The next lowest is that 224.5 between Orlando and Boston, and I was saying I didn't really like that one with 12.5 additional points on it. This is, again, as of like a half hour ago, so there's a little bit of line movement. Like the Indy-Washington game is now down to 260. That doesn't make it any less appealing. It's a 9-point spread now. I'm just looking at some of the live lines. But all roughly the same. And then the Knicks and the Suns, 5-point spread, 232.5. Plenty of playable parts. Obviously, some star power on the Phoenix side. Pretty highly projected Devin Booker and Kevin Durant. All three stars should be in play for Phoenix. Got some moving parts on the Knicks. Couple of high-end, or like upper middle class type guys in the Jalen Brunsons and Julius Randles of the world. A little bit of useful utility probably will still shine through for Isaiah Hartenstein. So we'll get into it. Greg, what's going on, buddy? I did, so probably just going to do the normal routine NFL Sunday main slate show sometime tomorrow. It depends really how the day's going. I'd like to say that I'll do it from 2 to 4 and then have time for basketball and everything, but you know how my scheduling goes and everything, my clock management. I manage clocks like Andy Reid. So make the assumption that it's going to be like post NBA lock tomorrow, like an evening, like couple hour show for the Sunday main. And then I'll have all content for tomorrow's slate for the 3-game Saturday slate. I will do projections. I'll do the groups article. I'll do some form of a like the above below article. So you'll have all of that stuff. But yeah, probably not going to be able to cram in a show. I was hoping to maybe get stuff together and have it for tonight, but just the last 36 hours has just been really slow moving for whatever reason. Tiz is saying, I think Brown will sit. He had an ankle questionable tag, then tweaked his knee for a different injury, so good evidence there. You get some Lamar Stevens and Brissett, get enough minutes to matter. I've got them in the... Come on. Yeah, right now I've got O'Shea at 16 and Lamar Stevens at 14. So, yeah, both getting a reasonable couple of minutes, and that could easily go pear-shaped around that Keta value and, 2/3 of the field on both sites. But right now, the way we're putting it up, definitely is looking like Keta. So just getting into to some of these top options sorted across all positions right now. Devin Vassell showing a lot of value, and that's Lakers-Spurs game. 33% winner on FanDuel, 29.07 on the DraftKings slate. Pretty good, mid-range type guy, 6,100 on FanDuel, 6,300 both guard spots on DK. A little bit more flexibility, a little bit, surprisingly, a little bit less value. It's price-driven, 61 on FanDuel is better price against the higher cap. Dennis Schroeder, OG Anunoby, definitely seeing some pieces from that Atlanta-Toronto game. These guys just play a lot of minutes. 37-minute projected for OG. He played 36.6 the other night, 33.5 FanDuel points, 36.9 played the other night for Schroeder, 35 FanDuel points. They're a .97 and a .86 per minute player on FanDuel, one on the nose and .88 on DraftKings. They're both just very playable parts from that 6,000, 7,000 tier. So I like both of those options for around a little bit less than a point per minute, but in the 30s with upside into the to the mid 40s. Brandon Miller, 14% winner on FanDuel, 23% on DraftKings. Tari Eason, a lot of middle-class guys cresting up toward the top here. And then we get into some star caliber guys, like in this, a few players down. Like Wemby, 9,100, 18.7% win rate on DraftKings. 1,000 and change, 1,200 more on FanDuel. Obviously, again, fits better into their scoring system. It is 1.49 points per minute on FanDuel, 1.44 on DraftKings. But it's not like that's, it's 0.05 of a fantasy point per minute. Right? So let's be realistic about that, what that really adds up to. He's a great play on DraftKings today. 18.7. 91 is cheap. For his potential upside, put up a 70 in the FanDuel scoring model, 32.5 minutes the other night. Just has monster upside with what he can do on the court. Hayward, better option on DK than FanDuel. A little bit of value across both sites, though. Same for Jabari Smith. 5% winners for both of those guys on FanDuel. 17% on DraftKings. You get some LeBron there. We've got some Pascal Siakam, Terry Rozier, Scotty Barnes, Anthony Davis, Julius Randle all through the middle of the board there. Austin Reeves. So a lot of pieces from LA, San Antonio. Definitely a handful of pieces from the Atlanta-Toronto game coming up pretty big. Mostly on the Toronto side. A lot of stuff landing from Toronto. There's Trey down toward the bottom of that screen, but that's still 25th best by overall win rate. Denny Avdia, Amin Thompson, Bojan. And then a pretty long stretch of okay single-digit guys here. But this is a 27-player list that accounts for 500% of the DraftKings win rate. It does look, for an 8-gamer, it looks a little condensed around some of these upper-end win rates. Where you're getting a lot of pretty good players. I think a lot of it has to do with having the $3,000 dead minimum 70% win rate guy at an 8.63 points per dollar to play. So you can get a lot of just action around these 5s and 6s rather than dipping into the pool of 4s, like Gary Trent, 4,000 point guard shooting guard. 14.8% winner. Not a lot of other 4s here, though. Usually we're littered with 4s. Here's another one, 4,400 Malachi Branham. Another piece in that San Antonio game. 12.38% winner on DraftKings. Both guard spots for 44. Here's a 35 from Malachi Flynn. Another piece on the Toronto side. He's not projected for much. 17 minutes. It's a 0.81 per minute player, but on the value scale, he's getting there a little bit. But a lot of the guys up here are a little bit higher priced. A little bit higher end than a lot of the options we usually see in this exercise. Just saw a funny news update. Matthew Patterson, I forget if I said hi to you, pal, but hey, right back. Welcome. Happy Friday. I think I did say hi, but just in case. I just noticed your hey with all those exclamation points, and I didn't want to not say hi if I hadn't. So looking at the guards. Vassell pulling a ton. Schroeder, OG. A lot of Toronto upside. Jeez. What is there? I'm just jumping to the other sheet here. Pretty popular. So it does jibe with what others are seeing, I assume. Schroeder, OG. Yeah, it's all these guys, too. I'm actually behind where others have them on a couple of these players. So you could arguably go even higher. Interestingly, like my favorite just player in this group is their best scorer this year, Scotty Barnes, 1.31 fantasy points per minute on FanDuel, 1.30 on DraftKings. Out of the entire group that are all showing value, he's projected to be the lowest owned. Obviously, you have to pay a higher price to get to him. 92 on FanDuel, 9,000 on DraftKings. Both forward spots on FanDuel, point guard, small forward still on DraftKings. Love that flex. So he's obviously a bigger investment than Schroeder, than OG, than Gary Trent. But he's looking like a good option. Pushing a 14% win rate basically on DraftKings. 18% on FanDuel makes him look exceptionally good. And if people aren't going that way, I'm happy to get there a little bit more. At least on FanDuel, the ownership that I'm... Oh, wait. Is this FanDuel or DK? I can't remember which one I have loaded into the sheet. I think it's the DK ownership that I'm looking at, actually. Either way, assuming that he's the lower owned out of that entire group, which will hold up based on the pricing across these sites. That makes him interesting to me with these win rates. I can get ahead of the field on Scotty Barnes, and then definitely also have shares of the Gary Trents, the OGs, the Dennis Schroeders, the more popular guys, and the Siakams of the world. But that makes him interesting to me. Terry Rozier and Brandon Miller both hitting from the Charlotte side. 8% win rate for Rozier, 14% on FanDuel, 23% and 14%. So they both look a little bit better on DraftKings, but both very playable across sites. Miller's been a 0.79 per minute player this season, and Rozier's been at 1.13. He had a 56-point FanDuel game the other day in 37 minutes. 1.16 DraftKings points per minute. 8,700 on DK versus 91 on FanDuel. Pretty appealing on the DraftKings slate. Like the Rozier option, and then shooting guard, small forward eligible Brandon Miller. 23% win rate is a 0.81 per minute player. You're just getting 4.81 points per dollar. But on like a mid-level price and position basis, he's getting there quite a bit. Branham, I don't love the option. I get, he's coming up at 1.6 on FanDuel, fortunately. 4,500 small forward shooting guard. For 44 on DraftKings, point guard shooting guard. Even at 0.70, 4.64 points per dollar, a 20-point projection. 12% win rate shouldn't be ignored. So as a price-based option, just not a great points per minute guy for a 28-minute projection. That is a very low return in terms of your expectation of fantasy points. So as I've said before, when we're going to these types of guys, if you do have reasonable pivots, reasonable other options that'll give you better fantasy points per minute and a similar expectation of minutes, there are opportunities where, all right, I can sacrifice a point, 2 points of mean projection to save a couple of bucks or to gain several points of like potential opportunity and potential additional ceiling. So that's just kind of how Branham falls. I'm kind of glad I don't have to get to him on FanDuel, but I do think he's going to be a piece that comes up anyway on DraftKings. Let's put it that way. Austin Reeves, one of the healthy bodies for the Lakers. 11.5% winner on DraftKings. A little bit better on FanDuel. This is the first day that Reeves has shown better value for us. He's been, for whatever reason, he's been a little bit behind the curve for us. So we're getting him here, and I think it could only go up depending on who's not going to play tonight for the Lakers. It seems like out of that group of 37 guys that are on the injury report right now, 2 or 3 are not going to go. So there could be potential opportunity for him there, and potential opportunity for him just kind of lead the offense or be the second banana on the offense. D'Anthony Melton, Trae Young, a couple of good players in the middle. Trae showing a very good win rate at 16% on FanDuel for 98. Point guard only over there. Very big projection on both sides for him, but he's a 1.39 DraftKings points per minute player, 1.33 FanDuel points per minute player, 63.3 FanDuel points in 39 minutes the other night. Obviously, monstrous upside on any given slate, and a lot of pieces coming through from that Atlanta-Toronto game. Again, that was the second highest on the board, 241.5. So that's the only game that, it's 19 points short, or 18.5 now. It's 18.5 points short of the Indy-Washington game, but that's the only game that's really, rivaling that game. And interestingly, we're not seeing a ton. Here's Jordan Poole and Tyus Jones. There's Bilal Coulibaly. But interestingly, like out of these top handful of guys, this is the guard position. And I don't remember any of those guys creeping through on the board when we're breaking down the rest of it. Here's Buddy, here's TJ, there's Bruce Brown, there's Tyrese. So they all land down here. Looking a little bit better on FanDuel for some of these guys. On DraftKings, they're all in that single-digit range, which is kind of interesting with that crazy high total. Based on how they're projected, based on what their points per dollar and their pricing looks like, I do expect that they'll still land in lineups as you build lineups. It's just interesting that they're not really pushing through for tons of win rate on DraftKings. I'm surprised. I think they might be better options than they look in this particular sim. I just want to check. I'm looking at what you guys will see later. Let's see. So yeah, they come up, but they're kind of surprisingly mid in terms of where this sim got them to anyway. Where am I in there? Let's see. Indy and Washington. Yeah, like I'm longer on some guys and shorter on others, but not by anything crazy. What are they owned at? Let's see. Yeah, I guess their projected ownership kind of reflects what I'm seeing here. That's interesting. With such a high total, this game's not picking up crazy popularity, and it's not really simming through. So maybe these guys are just a little bit expensive, I guess. Like positionally, how they fall against the rest of the board. That's a surprising result, given this game again is carrying essentially 20 additional points. Like nobody in the projected ownership that I use from, this is an update from a half hour ago or so. Nobody in this entire game, both teams, the Washington and Indy game, nobody projected for more than 15% ownership on, I believe, DraftKings. On FanDuel, I'm sure they're more highly owned, which makes sense. FanDuel, they come up a lot better. I'll sort to that. Let me do that. I'm just going to sort to this game. Right, so these are just the guards again, or the guys that qualify as guards on DraftKings. But you can see on FanDuel, Buddy, 36% winner. Ben Mathurin, 27. Tyrese, 21. Much better plays on FanDuel, where on DraftKings, they're all just like right here, which is kind of surprising. But again, that the projected ownership that I use here does kind of reflect win rates that are around this. There are arguments to be made that a couple of these guys, if these win rates hold up, are actually a couple points over-owned, even under 15% ownership. Those would be Buddy. Again, if this is correct ownership projections. Actually, no. Buddy's okay. Let's see. Pool. These columns aren't close to one another, so I'm trying to just look across. Pool, average, and turn. I don't have most of those guys on the screen. Pool. Yeah, Pool is potentially a little overowned. He's also a guy I have projected a little bit behind where others might have him, though. I've got him at 0.93 FanDuel points per minute tonight. He's a 0.89 player on the season. He was a 1.03 last year. So if you pushed him up to about last year's number, which I think is you could easily do, you give him exactly the difference between my projection and NRG's basically. But based on how he's been this year, I think it's reasonable to give him better than his current year rate because of the massive uptick and the massive total in this game. But not necessarily push him as high as others have. If you want to get more Jordan Poole, absolutely you can go for it. You can get him up to a win rate that's more in line basically with his ownership. But that's how these guys look right now. A lot of these guys are just kind of aligned with their win rates that you're seeing here are similar for the Indy Washington game, are similar to what their projected ownerships are for both sides. Getting into some of these other options. I think that was a worthwhile little detour there. Oh, why did this get all small? Did I shrink this? When did I do that? What's going on with his board size-wise today? Weird. All right. Now, where are we? I mean, Thompson, if he plays, surprisingly, with a 12-point projection, he's 3,500. He's got a 16-minute projection. He's not playing that much, even in his return. But a 10% win rate, that's just a price-based, probably anomalous thing coming through the sim there just because of how cheap he is. I don't know that I would chase that one. Melton at 6% on FanDuel is playable at 12%, basically 11.5 point guard and shooting guard for 6,000. It's pretty appealing there. They're going to absolutely wax Detroit. It's just a matter of who's playing in the fourth quarter for Philly tonight. That's why I don't know that you'd really chase Philly all that much. But for his price, I think Melton's perfectly playable. Trey Murphy, a lot more value on DraftKings, 9% winner over there, sub 1 on FanDuel. Sohan, the opposite, 20% winner on FanDuel, sub 10, but looks good on DraftKings, definitely playable, 9.37% win rate. Point guard and small forward, another one of those uniquely flexible guys. I guess I got to stop calling them uniquely flexible since they're giving it to everybody now. Bruce Brown is at that eligibility as well. A lot of point guard forward eligibility on DK. Koulibaly landing at 9% is kind of interesting. What was he in? That could be an interesting little piece of value, like mid-range, 5,400 shooting guard and small forward. Not a monster projection. He's been a .76 per minute player. Could definitely underperform us. But his win rate here is a little bit ahead of what I'm seeing for projected ownership. And it's another guy where, you know, he's been a .76 per minute player on DraftKings. We're giving him a little bit through the model based on just how many additional possessions they're going to pick up in this ridiculously high total game. So there's an argument to be made that you can give him even more, depending on how you model that. There's an argument to be made that you should give him a little bit less because we don't really know the nature of the player fully yet, and he hasn't been a monster performer yet. I think we're being relatively conservative. I've got him at... Where'd he go? No, he was covered up by the bottom of the thing there. So this is on a FanDuel scale. So on FanDuel, he's a... I'm getting completely sidetracked here. On FanDuel, he's a .77 per minute player, and I've got him at .83. So I think he's kind of reasonable if he's a little bit underowned on DraftKings. On FanDuel, he's not relevant at all. 0.5% of win rate. Poole, again, better on FanDuel. Tyrese, much, much better on FanDuel. 21% winner for Tyrese on FanDuel versus 7.5%. 8.5% winner for Jordan Poole. 12.3% on the FanDuel slate. Tyus Jones, who I have been getting to a little bit here and there. Just a 2.8% win rate on FanDuel. Much more valuable. 4 times the win rate, basically. 8.8% on DraftKings for 56. Jalen, if he goes, playable on both sites. Not a priority by any means. So if we lose him, it's just opportunity downstream for other guys. Jalen Brunson, 10.5 on FanDuel, a little bit less on DraftKings, 8,200 point guard only on both sites. So just given the price differential, the cap differential, Jalen looks a little bit better on the FanDuel slate. Buddy, much more valuable on FanDuel. 6.6% winner so far at 6,600. Shooting guard, small forward on DraftKings. He's still just 5,700 on FanDuel. 0.92 per minute on the season. Capable of giving you buddy games like that. 26.7 minutes, 12.6 FanDuel points. There's a big basement with Buddy Hield. There can also be a pretty high ceiling. Got to catch him on the right day, and a game with a 216 change point total is, if that's not the right day. Cade, 8 basically win rate on FanDuel, 6.5 on DraftKings, 8,200 over there, 8,000 anytime somebody's cheaper on the FanDuel slate with similar positioning. It's going to be a little better on FanDuel. CJ, 5.8% winner on FanDuel, sub 5 on DraftKings. A couple of differentiated pieces. D'Lo, if he plays, 18.9% on FanDuel, just 3% on DraftKings. Matherin I mentioned in the Indy Washington, but again, he's much, much better on FanDuel. Just a sub 3% win rate, 6,000 shooting guard small forward on DraftKings, 27.3%, 5,200 shooting guard small forward on FanDuel. Way more value over there. Freddie Van Vliet, 14.8% winner on FanDuel, only 7,900, 8,400 on DraftKings, sub 3%. Couple others hiding down here. DeJounte Murray, the last piece of that Atlanta-Toronto game. Not much value at all on DraftKings. You can play him as a, like, not the flashiest luxury item, but well, he's not a Mercedes, but he's not a Toyota. He's like a Lexus, right? So he's priced like that, 8,200. He's not in the 10s or the 11s or the 12s, but he's also not in the 6s. So a reasonable enough. I have 2 positions open, and I have 18,000 on DraftKings, so I can get to a high-end player and then an $8,000 player as my 2 pay-ups. DeJounte still, even with a just non-existent win rate, just in a raw scoring potential and a ceiling potential, you can plug him into that spot. It's not necessarily a mistake. Mark Williams and PJ Washington have both been ruled out tonight for Charlotte, so that's interesting. Was PJ on that list? He was questionable. Okay. I had not processed that one as potentially popping up. So Nick Richards again. Already got Nick at 26 minutes. There's going to be more opportunity there. Probably JT Thor picks up a big chunk of minutes now. Had JT Thor at like 9. He'll probably jump into the teens. Who the hell else is even here? Let's add the zeros back in. Mark Williams I already had out. So we already had Nick Richards looking pretty decent. And he might take even bigger of a jump. He was already 14 and change percent. Yeah. That was ownership, not... What other bigs do they even have? Everybody else on this team is like a guard or a wing. So, presumably, like I can't squeeze many more minutes into most of the guys that are already getting minutes in that rotation. It's going to be one I'm going to have to look at because I got to spread like 30 and change PJ Washington minutes around now. Out of the guys who are not getting anything currently, I would expect that JT Thor is going to take a bit of a jump anyway, just based on landing a chunk of minutes in his lap. He's 3,500 on FanDuel, power forward only, 3,400 on DraftKings, small forward, power forward. Keep an eye on that one. Fun shit. All right, let's jump to forward, especially now that I know I've got to change that when we get off. Apologies for the low energy show, guys. It's just, like I said, slow moving. Last 36 hours. It was funny when I was home for the Nutcracker the other day. My dad was coughing this time. My mom had been coughing over Thanksgiving, and she was saying, "Oh, I've had it for 3 weeks. Nobody's gonna get it." And I didn't get it, but apparently my dad did end up getting it. So I saw him the other day, and that was what I was thinking yesterday when I was like feeling slow, sluggish and slow. I was like, "Oh man, if I got that cough, if I got that cold coming, that's gonna suck." But I don't think so. It doesn't feel like that. Just again, like not that I'm not getting enough sleep. I don't really know. Just sluggish. OG Anunoby, Keldon Johnson, a couple of premium-ish kind of pieces from the Atlanta-Toronto game and the LA San Antonio game. Keldon at 1.01 FanDuel points per minute, 1.03 DraftKings points per minute. OG 0.86 FanDuel points, 0.88 DraftKings points. A couple of guys potentially on the trade market. Very interesting pieces for different teams to pick up. But for tonight, 27 and 22% win rates on DraftKings. On FanDuel, 29 for OG, 20.1 for Keldon. Realizing this isn't sorted. Or is it? No, there's 22 there. Brandon Miller, I got him at 35 minutes already. If I've got a scrap minute, maybe he gets it and goes to 36, but we're not going to see much movement beyond a 23% win rate. He already looks very good on DraftKings. He looks highly playable at 14%. Small forward only on FanDuel. More flexibility for the higher price on DraftKings. Gives him a little bit more value. Tari Eason, nothing at all on FanDuel. He's 61 on FanDuel. Jeez. On DraftKings, 5,200, 21.5% win rate. 1.18 DraftKings points per minute so far from him. 19 minutes a game over 14 games. But got him at 20 tonight. 46.3 FanDuel points in 26 minutes the other day. As a $5,200 both forward option, that's a pretty reasonable one from like the lower end of the middle class pricing. Wemby I touched on at the top of the show, but again, pushing a 19% win rate for 9,100. That's just cheap for a guy putting up 1.44 DraftKings points per minute. All right, like I get why he's more expensive on FanDuel, but I don't think he's so much better for the FanDuel model that he shouldn't be higher priced on DraftKings. This is just low for that kind of return. Like here's a comp, like right, LeBron is 97, which arguably is low for, LeBron James. He's a 1.45. Here's another 1.44 priced at 10.3 with the same positioning as Wemby. So for the exact same rate, you can pay 10.3 and get to Anthony Davis, or you can just have Wemby for 9.1 at the same positioning. Is Wemby going to go out every night and outperform Anthony Davis? Absolutely not. He's not projected to. He's 6 points behind in the projection. Anthony Davis has more track record. But there is no arguing with the idea that Wemby comparatively is underpriced. So I like that option quite a bit. He's pulling a stronger win rate than either of those Lakers. A lot of good options on the board, though, today. Again, like I said, especially at this forward spot, like look how few 3s and 4s we've got. Our first guy priced under 5,000 is all the way down here. So he's what, the 13th guy on that list? That's David Roddy at 46, both forward spots. He's still pulling an 11% win rate. But there is spend at the forward spot on DraftKings. Some of these guys might fall at guard. Some of them might fall at center. We'll see how it comes up when we look at the actual lineups. But definitely getting some spend through here. Gordon Hayward, LeBron James, Pascal Siakam, Julius Randle, Anthony Davis, Scotty Barnes. Then you get to David Roddy. You've got Austin Reeves available at the forward spot on both sites. He, again, could see more minutes if some of these Lakers fall off the board. Denny Avdija, 26% win rate on FanDuel. Another piece in that Indy-Washington game who's showing a lot more value on FanDuel. But he does come up 10% on DraftKings, 6,200. Pretty good option. 1.0 FanDuel, DraftKings points per minute on the nose, 0.99 FanDuel points per minute. Brandon Ingram looking a little bit better on DraftKings, 9.8% winner over there, 8,200 shooting guard, small forward. About half that win rate for 84, small forward and power forward on FanDuel. A little bit of a product probably of positioning. I feel like getting him at guard might give him a little bit more value with all of these good-looking forwards. Josh Hart, 5.7% winner on FanDuel, 9.2 on DraftKings, 5,100. It's 0.79 per minute player. Same rate on FanDuel. Went out and put up 8.4 FanDuel points in 28.9 minutes. That's the issue with Hart, low usage guy. Has to get it done with like scrappy play or a random upside game where he hits a couple of threes or makes a couple of plays. That's another thing that you can kind of look at in a lot of these evaluations when you're looking at some of these options side by side. Just thinking about the per minute rate, and then you can look at that side by side with usage, and Josh Hart's usage is just so low. So he suffers from that a little bit. It limits his ceiling on a lot of nights. It limits his output on a lot of nights. So you do get a lot of clunkers like that. But even this is all accounted for now. And at price and positioning, he is still coming through with just under a 10% win rate on DraftKings. About half that on FanDuel. Zion, assuming he plays, 10.9 on FanDuel, 9.1 on DraftKings, 1.23 FanDuel points per minute, 1.24. Another guy, you just don't know what you're getting from Zion a lot of nights, but he's by no means a low usage guy. He's a fairly high usage guy, pushing a 28% usage rate, tons and tons of minutes. It's just more of a question of effort, conditioning, and all those things for Zion. 8.6% winner for Bojan on DraftKings, a little bit better on FanDuel, 14.6% over there. Tobias Harris, again, Tobias pretty cheap, 6,300. I think he came up a little bit from how cheap he was the other night, where he actually put up a pretty decent game, 32.9 FanDuel points in 26 minutes. If he had a few additional minutes. The issue again, though, with Philly is you could easily say, hey, Tobias is going to play more like 30 tonight as a projection and could land in the 26 to 28 range. They're probably not going to need these guys in the fourth quarter. That's the one issue with going to any of these Philly options. So that's not necessarily accounted for in the sim. Like, it does obviously, model, low performances as well. But if I changed that, like if I gave him just 30 minutes, let's say, he would show a lot less win rate here. So something to keep in mind as you're looking at Philly tonight, but it wouldn't be the right move to project them that way, I don't think. Bruce and Buddy, we talked about at the guard positions. Both good, reasonable mid-range options in a ridiculous game environment on DraftKings. Buddy, the clear better option on the FanDuel slate, but both guys showing value on FanDuel. Aja Thompson, 13% winner on FanDuel, 6.5 on DraftKings. A little bit more tame of a projection for him today. 29.9 minutes the other night. He put up a 27.1. He's down to a 1.06 on the FanDuel scale, 1.03 on DraftKings. Still looks very good. Still a reasonably good option from the middle. 6,100 on both sides. Jalen, RJ, just some playable parts through here. Down to Ben Mathurin, who we talked about before, at a monster win rate on FanDuel. Not so much on DraftKings. $3,000 O'Shea Brissett. So he came up before when we were talking about the opportunities in the Celtics front court. And at 3,500 on FanDuel, he's not showing us much of anything. Sub 10 overall projection in his projected time. But on DraftKings, even with a sub 10 projection, at 3,000 at power forward, he's clinging to a tiny bit of value. If you wanted to just say that there are minutes, and he'll get more if Jalen doesn't go. And he'll hit the board harder. But there are going to be minutes available. What's the... They're only favored by 4.5 as of the last time I looked. Actually, I forgot I have the live up here. Celtics favored by 4. 225 point total. Could be additionally suggestive that Jalen's not going to play. What I was looking for there was, if the Celtics were favored by a lot more than that, I'd be saying, even more potential opportunity. And there is that idea, right? The Celtics, even with a bunch of guys out, could just go out there and smoke this Orlando team to the degree that guys like O'Shea Brissett are just going to pick up some run based on having a short bench and just being healthy bodies late in the game when they don't want to go back to their healthy high-end players. So there could be opportunity at this dead minimum on DraftKings, and we're already seeing it. On FanDuel, we're not seeing it. I think he needs a little bit more on the FanDuel slate. 3,500 small forward only. $3,300 for Dougie McBuckets, 2.3% win rate. Not much to talk about there. 10-1, Jason Tatum. Even with all that opportunity going around in the Celtics, obviously he's not the direct beneficiary of additional minutes. He's going to be out there playing his usual Jason Tatum minutes. Maybe he crests up to like 40 just on the idea that maybe they need him to beat this Orlando team tonight. Put up 50 in 36.4 minutes the other night. He's a 1.24 FanDuel points per minute player, 1.29. Where you could see some additional opportunity potentially, and it would depend on how they run things, because and I'll look at the numbers specifically if Jalen comes off. But if that happens, with the idea of so many moving parts, maybe there's a little bit of an uptick in the per minute rates for Tatum when that happens. I'll take a look and I'll model it accurately depending on what the news looks like. But right now, he's just looking like Jason Tatum, luxury item, pay up. You can plug him into a lineup in the 10,000, 10-1 on both sites, both forward spots on both sites. Little tiny bit more value at 1.6% winner on FanDuel, 0.72 on DraftKings. I don't think he's going to be crazy popular, though. Differentiated guys, 4% winner for Des Bane if he plays on FanDuel, not at all on DraftKings. Despite a nearly 50-point projection, KD not looking great on either site. 2.6% winner. He looks a lot better on FanDuel comparatively, but not really showing a ton. The guy who is Aaron Nesmith. 27-minute projection, just a 22 FanDuel points, 35% win rate because he costs you 4,200 at both forward spots. Not a comparable play on the DraftKings slate where he costs 5,200 power forward only. Franz Wagner, 7,500, 7,800 across sites, 1.3% winner on FanDuel, 0.4% winner on DraftKings. There's a lot of better options in that price tier right now. So again, his name is Ketate. 37.7% win rate on FanDuel, and again, I suspect that could go higher. I'm surprised that's as low as it is. I get it's single center. You do want to get your shares of these three guys will all fall at power forward. These four guys can all fall at power forward with him. You can get two of those guys at power forward with him. You're getting 13% winner on Turner, so we got 13, 11. Are there other 3? Yeah, there's a 7. So between those guys I just clicked on who are the center onlys, this is a better way to do this, obviously, but that's 39% of the win rate at the center spot between Miles Turner, Clint Capella, Nick Richards, who might see a little bit additional. Okongwu, Joel Embiid, obviously luxury item star, could just go out there and, if Joel Embiid goes out and puts up a 90 at 12-6, does it outperform the Neemias Queta, 18 for 35? Probably gets close. And then Şengün was the other guy in that mix. So that accounts for, and you could even throw Biyombo at 3.2. I missed. I'm just trying to get the one. We're up over 40. We're at 43% of the win rate at the center spot on FanDuel. So it's just a factor, I think, him not having like a 70% win rate like he does on DraftKings, even though he's min-priced on both sites. I think it's just a factor of the one bite at the apple at the center spot. But obviously, this is still an incredible piece of value. A min-price center expected to play. I'm expecting him to get the start and get starters, not starters, full starters minutes. Like he's not playing over 30, I don't think. Maybe he does. But at 24 minutes, he's obviously crushing value. And on DraftKings, you can just kind of lock him for value if you wanted to. I wouldn't. I'm not calling him that, but I wouldn't tell you were necessarily wrong. Wemby, super playable on both sites. Kind of a priority item, as I talked about before, at 91 on DraftKings, and looks very, very good for 10-3 on the FanDuel slate. Monster ceiling, 70 points on FanDuel the other night. Siakam, 19.7% winner on FanDuel, a little bit less, 14.3 on DraftKings. Highly playable option, and again, just a lot of pieces in that Atlanta-Toronto game. Julius Randle, power forward only on FanDuel. Him and Siakam, both power forward onlys on FanDuel. 15% winner. Put up a 59.4 on the FanDuel scale and 39 minutes the other night. Plenty of opportunity for him to play significant minutes. And, just playing along Isaiah Hartenstein, Jericho Sims. Just more opportunity for not getting out rebounded everything by his teammate Mitch Robinson, who won't be there for the next however long, 8 weeks, 10 weeks, whatever it was. They signed Taj Gibson. Tibbs still had him on speed dial. Taj will be an interesting piece when he drops in at the minimum price for a surprise start at some point. AD, very playable, 9% win rate on FanDuel, 13% win rate on DraftKings. Make sure that he's playing before you plug him in, but he looks pretty playable on both sites if you do get him. Miles Turner, 13% winner on FanDuel for 77. Still very good pricing for Miles Turner. It's a 1.29 FanDuel point per minute player for 7,700. You're just, you're obviously, again, you're getting him instead of the value play of the day. So you're just choosing a totally different path that lineup's going to be built on, or any of your shares of lineups. So you'll get very different lineups when we have get a shares at the center spot versus any of these other options. They'll just be wildly different constructions. On DraftKings, that's not the case because a lot of those lineups can just use one of these great options and then him in the util spot. So just choosing Keta and his value square doesn't send you off on a different path where it does on FanDuel. Or I should have said that as choosing anybody other than Keta. You guys get me. Zion, power forward only 10%, 10.9 on FanDuel, 7,900 on DraftKings, says the center eligibility there, 9% winner. Capella, Pirtle, Danny Gafford. Gafford a lot different across sites. 63 on FanDuel, 25-minute projection in that high-end game, just a 0.03% win rate. 1.14 FanDuel points per minute. Just looks like he's getting outperformed by most of these guys on the board. He's been good to decent this year. Or decent to good. 23.6 minutes, 29 FanDuel points the other night. 1.07 per minute on the DraftKings board. 5.10 points per dollar. He's a playable option on DraftKings. 6% win rate. It's all right for the money. Isaiah Jackson, a little bit of value on FanDuel in that game. 18 minutes. 4,300 power forward only. 10.9% win rate. Is a 1.33 per minute player. Issue is he just plays like 13, 14 minutes a night. So if you don't get him out there that much, your ceiling's kind of limited. Joel Embiid, just how good is he? 1.80 FanDuel points per minute, 1.81 DraftKings points per minute, 2.4% winner on DraftKings, 1.7 on FanDuel. Easily playable, easy luxury item on both sites. Hartenstein, a little bit of value, 4.5% winner on FanDuel, 3% win rate on DraftKings, 5,100 center only on DK, 57. At least you get him with power forward eligibility on FanDuel. A little more challenging to get to, but 0.98 FanDuel points per minute. Very good backup big man getting more opportunity right now. Let's call him that. Isaiah Stewart, playable option on both sides, but not a priority. Jaren Jackson, a little bit better on FanDuel, 7.6% win rate for 89 power forward and center, sub 1% at 85 power forward and center on DraftKings. Nobody else really standing out site to site. You could say Şengün at 3%, Biyombo at 3% versus what they're getting on DraftKings. But not crazy high priorities. I'll always take shares of Alperen Şengün, 8,400. It's a pretty decent price for a 1.28 per minute player. This is going to be a critical component, but we should pick up. We will have additional values again in Charlotte. This will go up somewhat. We're losing PJ. Not that there's crazy win rates like that are here that just auto translate to these other guys, because he was 57. So it's just not there's no, for anybody who doesn't get how it works, there's no like direct he had this, so it's just going to go to those guys. Those guys could potentially become much better opportunities than PJ, even with fewer minutes, just because of the price differential. So take a look. We'll get everything updated in the next little bit. It's 5:43. Going to take a look at the lineups on Ace Mind. Power says with Jordan Poole in, I'm staying away from Washington, even with that crazy total, and Zion available. That kills every other Pelly ceiling. Again, that game just specifically. Where am I here? All right. And bang, bang. All right, so this is that Washington and Indy game. So again, by win rate on DraftKings, your highest end option there is Miles Turner at 7,500 center only and 11% win rate. Avdia, Coulibaly, Tyus Jones, Jordan Poole, Tyrese, obviously, Bruce Brown, Buddy, Dan Gafford, TJ McConnell all holding up win rates, and Isaiah Jackson all holding up win rates over 5. Corey Kispert, Ben Mathurin dropping into the 3 and the 2 range. If you're playing on FanDuel, though, that's very, very different. Right? On the FanDuel side, these guys are all much stronger options. Come on. 36 for Buddy, 35 for Neesmith, 27. Granted, those guys, you said Washington, those 3 guys are on Indy. Denny at a 26. You might be missing out if you're playing on FanDuel with Denny. It does favor the Indy side. the best offense in basketball. That makes sense, playing against one of the worst teams in basketball and with that monster total. So it does make sense that it favors Indy. But like, here's Jordan Poole. I'm always happy to skip Jordan Poole. But he does definitely look playable with a little bit of upside for the 6,300, 12.3% winner on FanDuel. He's one of the guys who's, better looking on both sites. Kispert, Tyus Jones, if you're missing these guys, not as big a deal. So yeah, Washington between the two teams is the lower end one. But if you're on FanDuel, there are a couple pieces that I would definitely want to not completely exclude. Jaylen Brown available. Okay. Good news for the Celts. Metal Alloy, I got to work on getting the ability to download a CSV off of the site. That's an additional thing that I have to add on the back end through the WordPress table press app that is the backbone of how the site goes together. So right now, no. But what you could just easily do is just highlight, copy, paste, drop it into an Excel sheet, and you're good to go. So that you should have that ability. If you don't, just let me know. I guess I could start trying to drop the CSV into Discord. It's just adding another step though. Just like there's already too many clicks and steps and files and updates and copy pastes and everything in my life. So I'd probably rather not do that. I will try and remember to look into getting a link added to be able to click and download a CSV. But worst case, you should be able to go to the website up at rotoscouts.com. Projections are free, and just copy paste them into whatever you need. So let's look at Ace Mind. DraftKings first. So there's a fair amount of Neemias Queta on the board. He's in basically all of these top lineups at either the util spot or the center spot. Not surprising. As expected, a lot of spend at the forward spots. And then some pretty good mid options on at the guard spots, honestly. Like, look at all the point guard shares are going Cade Cunningham, Dennis Schroeder, Devin Vassell, Derek White, Anthony Melton, Tyus Jones is, cheapo option over there. Sohan. That's, pretty decent mids at point guard. A lot of the same guys, plus Terry Rozier, OG Anunoby, Brandon Miller at the shooting guard spot. Then we get spendy around LeBron and Julius Randle, small forward, power forward. LeBron Jabari Smith is a little bit more high-end mid. Keldon Johnson, Jabari, LeBron Keldon, LeBron Randle, Hayward Randle, Ingram Keldon, Tobias and Randle. So a lot of like upper mid, decently high-class options there. Bojan and Wemby is an interesting way to go. You're basically taking either a okay center at the center spot, right? An okay center here, and Neemias Queta here, or you're putting Neemias Queta here, and you're putting an okay center or big man option here, like Isaiah Hartenstein, Julius Randle. A little bit of IQ there, a little bit of Dennis Schroeder. But basically, if you just want to plug Queta into your util spot and then build around that, seems like a good starting point on DraftKings. And then mostly shares that we like, whoever you didn't use out of a lot of the commonly used options, point guard, shooting guard, or landing at the guard spot. It's a lot of decent looking players on this board for a DraftKings slate, for a DraftKings set of lineups. This is actually pretty balanced looking, just because you've got one so good value option that you can go like we were seeing in the sim results, right? We weren't seeing tons of 3s and 4s. We were seeing lots of 5s and 6s. So it creates just more of a balanced environment when you can put most of the value bucket into like one guy. DeAndre Hunter out. That'll create a little bit of opportunity in Atlanta. We'll deal with that after the show. Projections will be updated 10 minutes after I get off the air at worst. Usually get through them pretty quick. How have I been doing comparatively? Anybody follow how quickly I get shit updated versus how quickly the guys that like Stochastic or whatever do? I feel like I'm pretty quick. ROIs, that's what it was already sorted by win rates. That top one was that stands out. So that top one again was Cade, Branham, LeBron, Randall, Clint Capella, Derrick Rose, David Roddy, Neemias Queta. Not a bad little lineup. Spends all your money. A little most highly projected as well? No, it's not. Our most highly projected lineup, which people like to see, out of the ones that came up in this sim: Tyus Jones, Devin Vassell, Brandon Ingram, Keldon Johnson, Miles Turner, Dennis Schroeder, Jabari Smith, and Neemias Queta. That's a balanced lineup if I ever saw one. A lot of similar constructions. Just flipping this from the highest win rates to the highest projections, which again are going to be, a lot of the same lineups, and this is only within the top 150. If I click over here and do this, is it the same one? Oops. In the entire pool, we did get to one more highly projected lineup out of 23,527 that it created for this pool. Devin Vassell, Brandon Miller, Keldon Johnson, Victor Wembanyama, Neemias Queta, Dennis Schroeder, OG Anunoby, and Jabari Smith, which actually, just on its surface, I kind of like a little bit better. That one was projected about a point higher, 274.6 versus 273 for that one that we just saw before. But this one came up with a 0.02% win rate and a 256.6 sim ROI versus that one that we're seeing up there that had a 1,200% ROI, 0.13% win rate, $182 average cash. Average cash one. The one that is much more, not much more, that is a point more highly projected, has an average cash winnings of $38.50. If you rerun that same pool multiple times, does that one otherwise outperform it in some? Sure, I'm sure that it would. But based on this, it does. Again, its projection doesn't necessarily equal performance. There's more ceiling in that other lineup. So it's just always interesting to look at some of those side by sides. I know you guys couldn't see the other file that I was pulling that out of, but I think you get the point. A lot of LeBron. Fair amount of Hayward, some good Scotty Barnes shares in here. Fair amount of Wemby. I think if I was building for this, I might lean on Wemby by like a little, like if you wanted to click him for a thumbs up or something. I just really, something about that spot tonight is calling my name on DraftKings where he's so cheap. I just love, just again, to make that point, he's got the same per minute DraftKings rate as Anthony Davis right now. I'm not saying he's Anthony Davis. I'm not saying he's got he's got a similar ceiling. I'm not saying he's going to hit it nearly as regularly as AD will. I'm not saying he's going to outperform AD. I've got AD projected higher. But considering what they've done so far this year, and for Wemby, that's his NBA career, you're getting a significant discount on the same rate. Makes him appealing to me. Schroeder's coming up a ton. Tobias is landing in a fair amount of these. Julius Randle. It's a lot of the obvious guys we talked about. It is fairly straight line for an 8-game slate. Obviously, things will change. Obviously, there'll be curveballs and updates that we already know about. So let me jump to FanDuel so that I'll have time to make those changes. FanDuel board. Here's all the Queta shares in the world over here. Do I even need to scroll over? Who else cracks through? Wemby gets there once. Nurk. Hartenstein makes it up. Not surprising. Capella, Nurk, Capella, Biombo. So like I said, when I was looking at center, you do have 40-ish% of the shares landing with other guys for win rate on FanDuel just based on the single center. But in that top 150, Ket is in like half of them. Projected for like 50% ownership. So, I mean, he's coming up about where he should be. You can play that above, below the field game if you want to. Tyrese landing in a good amount of these, which I'm happy to see. Buddy Hield, Ben Mathurin. Ben Mathurin over here. Isaiah Jackson in a fair amount. Neesmith. As we said when we talked about it, that game was much, much more valuable for FanDuel than it was for DraftKings today, that Indy-Washington game. Not seeing a ton of pool shares in the top lineups. Kind of happy about. Going back up the boards, fair amount of spend at the power forward spots on FanDuel. Keldon and Julius, Bojan and Neesmith are mids, but it's like spend mid. Keldon Tobias, LeBron, Isaiah Jackson, Julius Keldon, Julius, Zion, Isaiah Jackson. Jackson providing a lot of value. It looks like basically each of these positions is paired off as like a spend, save. Not that we're really dipping into the savings bucket, because again, on FanDuel as well, we have the $3,500 Keta option. I'd say where the spend holds up the most, just eyeballing it, is either point guard or small forward, where you're getting a little bit spendy on both options. Like Sohan, Cade are both, respectable mid prices. D'Lo, Jalen, same thing. Tyrese, Jalen is a little spendy. Tyrese, Terry, it's Maxey, but Maxey and Terry Rozier is a little spendy. So you're getting a little bit of spend at point guard. Mostly mid/savings at the shooting guard spot. Back to spending kind of at both spots at small forward, but a little, there's savings. Herb Jones is like a mid. Scotty Barnes, Buddy Scotty Barnes, Bojan Keldon. Keldon KD is interesting. The other spots are more trading off like good shooting guard that looks like it's more like lower middle class and like lower mid, upper mid. And then power forward, I think we're getting more like higher end, lower mid. Like Jackson is the one coming up the most in that role. Jabari Smith, Hartenstein, Danny. Not any of those guys are bad. They're not like extreme value plays. They're just from that lower part of the salary spectrum. .2% 0.2% winner on the top one there. $245 average cash winner. Not bad for a FanDuel lineup. So that was Sohan, Kate Cunningham, Vassell, Herb Jones, Scotty Barnes, Tobias, Keldon, Julius, and Keta. A lot of very balanced lineups here. Projection-wise on FanDuel, top one was 318. That's a 4-point separation between that top one and that next one, but it was only a 0.03% winner, $53 average cash one. So again, just because it's highly projected doesn't mean it necessarily performs. But that most highly projected was Schroeder, Halliburton, Vassell, Mathurin, OG, Naismith, LeBron, Keldon, and Keta. Just to do the same exercise for the FanDuel people. So there's another 318-point lineup in the full pool. That one was the 7.78. This one's 318.22, and it was outperformed by that other 318-point lineup. This one was Tyrese, Schroeder, Buddy, Vassell, Keldon, Avia, Neesmith, LeBron, and Keta. Kind of like that one, though. I think both times I liked the one that was highly projected but underperformed the other one. All right, guys, I'm going to punch out. I got some updates to do on the NBA projections. I got to get my lineups built and entered and all that fun stuff. And then I'm going to jump on the football stuff. We'll have football up for tomorrow's slate sometime tonight. Football projections, and I'll knock out the groups article. For the morning, I'll have like a picks article. It'll probably be in the form of the usual above below, but we'll see. So you'll be set for the 3-game Saturday. We'll do a show at some point tomorrow for the Sunday main slate. Everything will be up as usual for that one as well. And we'll go from there, gang. So I'll see you tomorrow at some point. Stay tuned. Keep an eye on everything. Good luck out there. Hit the like button. Follow the @rotoscouts Twitter handle. Jump into the Discord, etc., etc., etc. Buy the products from all of our many, many sponsors and well-wishers. With that, good luck. Somebody go win something. I will see you tomorrow. Adios.